Finally, Jonathan is here, and he's here with Tino as well. So today I have two men with me. It's going to be very exciting. So Jonathan, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
How has it been being in Zimbabwe so far?
It's fantastic. It's where I grew up originally, from Mutare, and loving being back. The weather's fantastic, and of course the people here are just amazing.
So that's exactly what I was about to ask. From Mutare, Zimbabwe to LA, USA, tell us about your childhood and your background, and what brings you back to Zimbabwe?
So I grew up, as I said, in Mutare. I went to Peter House and Rosawi over there with Tino. Tino was with me in Peter House. And then I just moved over to the UK and studied animation over there because I was always good at drawing and I was very creative. And it was nice to be over there and to learn about more advancing my skill over there in the UK. And from there I went on to work on some movies, Avatar, and to name a few, and eventually got myself offered to work as a lead animator on the Game of Thrones. And it's been a fantastic success, as everyone already knows. And it's so nice to come back to Zimbabwe because my animation was inspired by Africa, by all the little creatures and critters that I found running around.
The little creature.
Yeah, and that was a nice thing that I bring into my animation. I always put a character into some creature and give it life, and that inspired me. Coming back, every time I come back, it's just back to home, and it's where I'm from. I guess it's in your blood.
Wow. So how did you, talking about Game of Thrones and being an animator for Game of Thrones, how did you land that job?
Well, I worked with Symmonds a few years before that on a movie with Halle Berry called Dark Tide, filmed in South Africa, and we were animating sharks on the film. And we did a very good job, actually, I would say, my team. And then I was in between different contracts, so I was working with different movies and different companies after that. And then I went to Italy to work on a commercial there, freelance. And I got a phone call from Symmonds again, who said, please come back and help us on the Game of Thrones. And of course it was a no-brainer. I said, yep, I'll be there as soon as possible. And I was there a few days later with my lovely girlfriend, and it's been 3 years now, and the dragons have evolved, and I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have had my hand in that, the way they move and the way they are animated, of course, with the supervision of Sven Martin, but otherwise, yeah.
So what is animation, and can you explain to us what exactly do you do on Game of Thrones? Because someone watching is probably, people that are not into your world, it's probably hard for us to understand what exactly you do.
So I teach animation as well, and at Pixel Vision, and how I explain it to somebody who doesn't understand it, animation is the movement of images, a series of images that you can bring to life over time. And back in the days where they used to do it with 2D animation, which means that you draw. So in 2 dimensions you draw the cells, like Tino does his amazing comic art, and you draw that cell, and then you flip them and you draw different movements of the character, and that creates animation. It creates the moving image. And what I do is I work in 3 dimensions. So I work on a computer where we can move the dragon around, for example, or the character around, depending on the project. And then over time, I position the character how I would, and the computer calculates all the frames in between. So I'll set a keyframe at frame 1, and then a keyframe at frame 24. And remember, most of the time it's 25 frames per second. And then the computer will do all the calculation for me. And we have a fake camera inside the computer, and we render through that camera. And that is the 3D version of doing it in 2 dimensions. But in 2 dimensions, everyone had to draw every single frame, and now 3D has enabled us to animate a lot more effectively and a lot faster and cost effective.
So how did your animation journey start? Was it just a passion? Or when you're in high school, did you know what to study for it? Or you just woke up and you're like, I love doing this and this is what I want to do?
It was strange because, great story actually. Tino and I when we were at school together, Tino is a fantastic artist. And I was also, I fancying myself a good artist. And we would be in art together and we were drawing all the things. And there was always this kind of competitive thing going on. And then I realized, you know, it's nice to have a fantastic drawing, but what if you gave it a little bit of life? What if that amazing design of Tino's, which character is yours?
Campanica.
Yeah, Campanica. What if he just suddenly started moving around or started talking and actually visually move? And that was what I wanted to do with my drawings. So that inspired me to study animation and to learn about it. And I went down into it. I didn't go into 2D anymore, so I wasn't drawing. And I went into 3 dimension where I tried to understand modeling and sculpting. And then once I started setting my first keyframes and understanding animation, and actually how simple it is. It's very, very simple to observe something moving and then try and put it onto a computer, record it in your mind, and then translate it onto the computer and show people how to animate. That's what got me going, and then I started falling in love with animation. I was watching birds and creatures walking around, as I said, and that always gave me inspiration to continue and just to learn and get better and get faster and be more valuable to a client when they eventually would be looking for work. So that was it. Yeah, that's how I find myself involved in animation.
So you've been quite busy during your time here. I believe you led a workshop at Symmonds Institute of Digital Arts.
Yes.
Yes, and Mutare Republic.
Yes.
Something else, and ComicCon.
Yes.
You've been doing a lot.
Yeah.
So how has that been helping you, meeting with local creators? What are you giving to them, and what are they giving to you? Because there's surely something you're taking back from the local guys that are more interested in animation.
Yes. It's not also just animation. It's, what I found coming from Zimbabwe and being inspired by all the creativity that is here and all the beautiful environment and stuff. When we were driving around Avondale, for example, we were in the shops and we were looking around, and just the design of some of the creatures that you see, the position of how they sculpt these stone carvings into these beautiful designs. For me, it's fantastic to see that because they don't have a lot of reference available on hand, you know? And the art is all the way down into all the different levels of the Zimbabwe community. And that for me was inspirational. And then when Tino said, look, do you want to come and do a talk with ComicCon at Mutare Republic? Of course I was thrilled. And when I got there, we didn't expect such a gigantic turnout of young people wanting to understand what's going on. So that was fantastic to listen to what they had to say, and for them, even at Ziva, yesterday I got to see some of the students' showreels and their storyboards and their ideas. And it was so exciting because I was there at one stage. I was there thinking, I have an idea and I want advice from someone who's in the industry to push it forward. How can I move my storyboard or cut it down from 10 minutes into 2 minutes? How can I do that? And it was great, even in just 2 minutes, just to give a little bit of feedback to these youngsters, and they inspire me, you know, to tell the story, because anyone in Zimbabwe who has enough passion to be an animator or to work in the movies or to work in visual effects can do it. You can do it. You don't need a big. I was struggling financially a lot of the time. I was working a lot of jobs, you know, 3-4 jobs at the time. But I knew that that's where I wanted to go, and I just had that focus, and eventually I got a couple of great breaks. But I never gave up learning. I never gave up understanding animation in my situation and making myself better and more valuable, as I said. But coming back here and seeing the guys in Mutare Republic who are all grouped together now, it's so good that there's this hub of community, and you can see how much talent is ready to explode. And I think all that is needed now for Zimbabwe to have the southern hemisphere, southern African boost is investment for these youngsters who are growing up and who want to be directors and who want to be animators. The opportunity is here now. Let's take it. Let's get it going, and let's get everybody all together. Bring everyone together. Ziva, Mutare Republic, and anyone else who's out there who wants to study animation or learn about visual effects. Come to these places and join the community. It doesn't cost anything. Just come along and meet everybody, if nothing else.
That is very great advice, and I'm sure we're taking note of that. So Game of Thrones is huge, like really huge, and we really love it here. So but I'm not gonna ask you though how the season ends, because that would be a spoiler. So don't worry, I know, don't panic. I'm not gonna ask that. But then, I mean, if you just explain to us the concept of the storyline of Game of Thrones, and so that can just kind of motivate us. Are we able to do something like that in Zimbabwe?
Yes, the Game of Thrones storyline it's a fantasy world, and it's evolved as it's gone through. You know, we've got to the point now where there are not enough books that have been written, so the series that are being produced are all very, very classified. The storyline is of course very, very classified, and I'm definitely not allowed to talk about any of that information. But anyone who has an idea or who wants to create a TV series here in Africa, I think we have, if not more, inspiration to create our own stories. We've all gone through hard times, and we've all gone through good times and bad times, and those stories, it's sad if the older generation go to their graves with those stories, because we can all get together and create something fantastic here in Africa. I think Game of Thrones is fantastic because it's a fantasy world, but here it would be nice if we actually told stories that have a little bit of realism to the fantasy.